Hello everybody and welcome back to a new video. My name is Sarah and today I'm going to be talking about the nonfiction books that I hope to pick up hopefully within this year. I have kind of had a not like super solid reading goal. It just kind of like formed itself on its own without me really realizing it, but it's basically become like a solid reading goal now. But I've had this reading goal for this year to read at least one nonfiction book every month because I typically only read fiction, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I just personally have wanted to expand more into nonfiction, and so kind of giving myself the expectation of picking one up per month has been going well so far. Last month was a different story. I had started a nonfiction audiobook and then my library loan expired. I kind of just lost track of time, time got away from me and I just didn't finish it, so I have the book back on hold again in order to hopefully pick it back up again. And because of that, because I kind of like lost track of time and I didn't keep up my momentum on reading that book, even though I was really enjoying it, I've kind of slipped out of the motivation to pick up nonfiction, and so I figured doing this video would not only give you guys an idea of kind of what I'm hoping to pick up soon, but also get myself back to being excited about nonfiction, because so far this year with the ones that I have read, I've had a really good time. It's just had me excited to kind of explore all of the different, various types of nonfiction, because, nonfiction is a very broad genre. When I pick up nonfiction, I typically pick them up in audiobook format. I have had the most success with kind of just getting through nonfiction and like motivating myself to, I guess, consume it or whatever through audiobooks. That way I can like clean or walk the dog or do something while I'm listening to it. Because typically when I want to sit down to read, I want to get lost in some like fantastical story. And so most of these will actually be books that I plan to pick up in audiobook. There are two of them in this list. That one, I already have the physical copy, and the second, it definitely doesn't have an audiobook. Anyway, I've got about 6 or 7 books in this list. The first of which being the book that I had started last month, but my library loan expired, so I'm hoping to pick it back up where I left off, and that is the Radium Girls by Kate Moore. So this book goes through the true story of the young women in the 1920s who worked for radium painting companies that painted clock faces and clock dial watches with radium paint so that they would glow. These women all over the years gradually started getting very, very sick and dying very gruesome, horrific deaths because of the radium poisoning. And this book kind of chronicles the start of the radium craze and the start of these women working at these couple of really big companies, and how as the years went on, each of them gradually became more and more sick, and they started dying off, and how the radium companies did absolutely nothing to help the women or pay for their medical bills or stop the practice or anything, even after knowing that their companies were the cause of these women's deaths. And it's very aggravating, very gruesome and horrific, and just really distressing to read about, actually. Like I said, I had started the audiobook. I had gotten about halfway through. My loan expired, but I was like, before even the 10% mark of the book, I was furious. It's so aggravating to listen to how all these women went through these horrific things, and because of corporate greed, nobody wanted to do anything and nobody wanted to stop it, and it was all out of money saving and saving face, and all of these like horrible things that they sacrificed countless women's lives for. So anyway, a really downer topic, but also very, very interesting, and I think an important part of our history. I feel like often the impact of certain events on women gets forgotten about, so I think this is really important. So then the next book in this list is the only physical book that I own, and that is The Devil in the White City: Murder, Magic, and Madness at the Fair That Changed America by Erik Larson. Now, this I've had my eye on for a while. It's like a historical true crime novel, and it just sounds fascinating. I have heard it gets a bit slow and dry at times, but I'm still really interested in it and definitely want to pick it up. I'm actually going to read off the Goodreads synopsis of this because I think that it does a phenomenal job of like giving a really good overview of what this book is about, and it just sells it so well too. So it says, author Erik Larson imbues the incredible events surrounding the 1893 Chicago World's Fair with such drama that readers may find themselves checking the book's categorization to be sure that The Devil in the White City is not in fact a highly imaginative novel. Larson tells the story of two men, Daniel H. Burnham, the architect responsible for the fair's construction, and H. Holmes, a serial killer masquerading as a charming doctor. Burnham's challenge was immense. In a short period of time, he was forced to overcome the death of his partner and numerous other obstacles to construct the famous White City around which the fair was built. His efforts to complete the project and the fair's incredible success are skillfully related, along with entertaining appearances by such notables as Buffalo Bill Cody, Susan B. Anthony, and Thomas Edison. The activities of the sinister Dr. Holmes, who is believed to be responsible for scores of murders around the time of the fair, are equally remarkable. He devised and erected the World's Fair Hotel, complete with crematorium and gas chamber, near the fairgrounds, and used the event as well as his own charismatic personality to lure victims. Combining the stories of an architect and a killer in one book, mostly in alternating chapters, seems like an odd choice, but it works. The magical appeal and horrifying dark side of 19th century Chicago are both revealed through Larson's skillful writing. So if that doesn't sound interesting to you, then I don't know what will. That just sounds really fascinating to me. Especially because, from my understanding, when H. Holmes built this like hotel, he never let like one person like know the entire blueprints of the hotel. He would like hire somebody to start working on it and then either fire them or they would like mysteriously disappear, and then he would like destroy those blueprints and then hire another like contractor to then continue work on the hotel and then like repeat that series of events, so that by the time I was finished, nobody except for himself knew the actual like layout of this entire hotel, which sounds like American Horror Story-esque things, which I think one of the American Horror Story seasons is based off of H. Holmes and his hotel. I'm pretty sure the season is called Hotel, or it's based off of somebody else. I have no idea, but it feels like I've never watched American Horror Story, but that feels like they feels like they would align, you know? But anyway, I'm excited for this one. And then the other book that I am going to have to pick up in physical format if I want to read it, or I might be able to get it on my Kindle, I'm not sure, but non-audiobook format is Chess Duels, My Games with World Champions by Yasser Seirawan. Now, I don't know if any of you watched my most recent vlog. Towards the end of that vlog, I did mention that I have recently been really getting into chess. I'm really bad at the game, but I am absolutely like enamored with it. I am fascinated. I love it. It's so much fun to like watch, and like I feel so like it's just so gratifying when like you get really good moves in, or like you're able to stop this like cascading series of events that will cause you to horrifically lose. Those moments of like you feel like you've unlocked another level in your brain, are just like some of my favorite moments so far. So I've really enjoyed chess, and I've been watching a fair amount on Twitch, and chess.com hosts like a bunch of events and stuff, and so over the weekends they've been hosting the Rapid Chess Championship, and I only just heard of this book today, actually, which, you know, inspired me to just add it to this list, because one of the hosts, Yasser Sirawan, like had like a 25-year long grandmaster career, and also like coached and things like that. But I just listening to him commentate was just, it's been like really enjoyable, the way he talks, and he gets on these tangents of like these little stories that he tells of like different you know, events in his career, or like different just little anecdotes and everything, and the way that he is very like descriptive and animated when he commentates and like explains moves and things like that. He's just very enjoyable to listen to, and somebody in chat, one of the mods, had mentioned that he has a book published, and that's this book, Chess Duels, and it just kind of is him talking about, over the course of his 25-year long career as a actively competing grandmaster, how he played some of the like legendary players of his time, and kind of his pinnacle games, and also biggest downfalls and everything, and just kind of like the life lessons that he's learned through playing chess, and just listening to him talk. I know that the contents of this book are going to be really enjoyable to read. He just kind of reminds me of like that grandpa that's like very passionate about a topic, and just has all of these stories all the time. Like one of my grandpas, he was since passed away, but he was like that with like archaeology and dinosaurs, and he volunteered in a museum a lot, and so Yasser just kind of reminds me of my grandpa and how he used to talk and tell his stories, and so I just kind of want to pick this book up because I don't know, I've just really enjoyed listening to Yasser. And then next on this list is Know My Name by Chanel Miller. This is a memoir by Chanel Miller about her time during the Brock Turner court case. She was the rape victim of Brock Turner. He was the Stanford swimmer who was tried and convicted of rape, but got out of prison in only 6 months on good behavior. I do remember when this trial was going on, there was a lot of media coverage on it, and a lot of very questionable things and decisions made by the judge, and a lot of really horrible things said by Brock's family, and a lot of really poorly worded statements, and so it's just Chanel telling her side of the story and what she had to go through this whole highly publicized trial, and then past that when Brock got released very early, and I just, this trial has always stuck with me, just because I do remember when it was going on, and it's just stuck with me through the years, and so I would really like to read Chanel's memoir. And then another book that I want to get to is Hood Feminism, Notes from Women the Movement Forgot by Mickey Kendall. So oftentimes feminist movements are very white-centric. They very much benefit white women, and forget women of color and kind of their different issues that they have to handle, that are compounded with the intersectionalism of womanhood and race as well. And so I think that this is going to be a very important book for kind of like my own self-education on feminism and becoming a better feminist. I've always identified as a feminist, but I do want to be better about consuming more literature, especially literature that kind of expands my knowledge and understanding of what different women around the world experience. And so I do think this is going to be a really good one, and I have heard very, very good things about it. So I'm very much looking forward to picking this one up. And then next on my list is Sin in the Second City, Madams, Ministers, Playboys, and the Battle for America's Soul by Karen Abbott. So this book also kind of chronicles Chicago in the turn of the 20th century, but it kind of focuses on the Everly Club, which is a world famous brothel in Chicago, and the women that ran this brothel really focused on the care of the sex workers in their employ, and kind of how there was this big power struggle and kind of the politics and everything that went around this brothel. And I don't know why, it struck my interest. It caught my eye. It found it really interesting. I find the various layers and like perspectives of sex work very interesting to read about and learn about. Just because it's a world very far from my own, and it's one that like can be both like horrifying and like detrimental to women, but also empowering for women at the same time, depending on kind of how a woman got into this form of work. And so it just interested me, and so I'm curious about this book, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And then lastly on my list, I have Warriors, Witches, Women, Mythology's Fiercest Females by Kate Hodges. This is kind of like a border between nonfiction and fiction, because it's a series of like folk tales and mythology surrounding kind of the more villainized women of like different cultures. However, it's curated in a way that feels like nonfiction. At least that's what I'm gathering from the like synopsis, where it's really delving into kind of like the women's roles in these stories. And I love folktales, I love mythology, and I love women's history and feminism and kick-ass women. So I'm just excited for this one. So those are the nonfiction books that I'm hoping to get to by the end of this year. If you have any recommendations for me, let me know down in the comments. I'm always, looking for new books, but especially new ideas for nonfiction books to pick up, since I am trying to get better about that. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you consider sticking around and subscribing, and as always, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!